Good morning, First Unitarian. Hallelujah. I was just telling somebody in the entryway there, I was not quite prepared for how emotional it would be to have like real live people in this space again after almost a year and a half. I've been here so many times in the past 18 months when this space, it's just been empty. And I come here on Fridays and do my recording, and it's just me, and it's just quiet. And bless you for being here. Thank heaven. Tuesday, day after tomorrow, August 17th, will mark the 150th anniversary of First Unitarian Denver, which was then known as the Unity Church. On August 17th, 1871, First Unitarian Society of Denver filed articles of incorporation with the clerk of Arapahoe County, Territory of Colorado. Happy birthday, First Unitarian Denver. It is worth noting that this was 5 years before Colorado became a state, was only 7 years after the Sand Creek Massacre. Reconstruction in the South was an active program of the American government in 1871. It was the assassination of President Lincoln was a living memory for the entire country at that time, only 7 years before. It was also the year, well, if there was Reconstruction going on in the South, all was not rosy, especially concerning indigenous people. 1871 was the year that Congress passed the Indian Appropriations Act, which essentially nullified any and all treaties with indigenous people. We are a congregation that was founded in a time of tremendous transition, good and bad. It's also worth noting on this morning, as I sort of mentioned already, this is the first time since March of 2020 we have had live people in our sanctuary for in-person worship. I cannot tell you how good it is to see your precious faces in this precious historic space. Amen. For our call to worship today, I'm going to recite a part of those 1871 Articles of Incorporation, specifically Section 2, Declaration of Purpose. Reads as follows: Our object shall be to study the principles and practice the duties of a pure and undefiled religion. We would cherish the faith in a God of infinite wisdom, goodness, and perfection. We would seek truth wherever we may find it, whether in the principles that God has expressed in the universe of matter, in the inspired words of the great and the good of all ages and climes, or in the law of conscience that the Creator has written on the tablets of our own hearts. We would endeavor to establish the law of a pure and perfect morality in our daily lives. We would unite and work together in sympathy, bearing one another's burdens, helping the needy, cheering the sorrowful, reforming the vicious, aiding each other in the endeavor after a pure and holy life, assisting one another by precept and example in the search after truth and after God. Not bad. Welcome, those of you who are here. Welcome to those of you joining us online, wherever you are this morning. Welcome.
Whoever you are, you're welcome here. This song's for you.
Yonder come day, day is a-breaking, sun is a-rising in my soul. Oh, well, yonder come day, day is a-breaking, yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a-breaking, sun is a-rising in my soul. Oh, well, yonder come day, day is a-breaking, yonder come day, oh my soul. Yonder come day, day is a-breaking, sun is a-rising in my soul. Yowza!
Denver, we've reached a time for all ages this morning, and I'm going to talk about one of my favorite Denver historical figures. You may recognize them when I get to that part. So I've worked in lots of places around the city, most recently right here on Capitol Hill, and this morning I drove past the Capitol building with its bright golden dome in order to get here. And on my way home from here, I usually drive close to the Molly Brown House Museum, past the Art Museum, sometimes past the Performing Arts Center, or sometimes I take the long way past the baseball stadium, Elitch Gardens, and the football stadium. When I visit the foothills and I look east, the tall buildings of Denver are usually visible unless there's smog blocking my view. My family likes to visit the Denver Museum of Nature and Science and the zoo when there's not a pandemic going on. Yeah, Denver is a big, busy, bustling city with lots of people going lots of places. And I live in Lakewood, just slightly north of Molly Brown's summer house, placed in a quiet and restful scene when it was built in 1897. When I drive into the city, I like to imagine the unsinkable Molly Brown taking that ride from downtown out to her summer house in a carriage. And I wonder what she would have seen along the way. Her view would have been pretty different from mine today. First Unitarian Society of Denver has been a part of the Denver community for 150 years. We were founded in 1871, the same year that Colorado Springs also became a town, and the same year the first Major League Baseball game was played in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And Molly Brown, who survived the sinking of the Titanic, was 4 years old. Not married, not owning a big house in Denver, not riding to her summer house in a carriage yet. In 1871, none of the buildings or the places I mentioned earlier even existed. Denver had dirt roads, no tall buildings, wasn't even the capital of Colorado yet because Colorado wasn't even a US state yet at that point. And why am I telling you all of this? Because First Unitarian has been in the Denver area for a really, really long time. And I wonder, who were the kids and the parents at those first meetings? What did they see on their way to church? And what stories might they tell us today if they could? And did you know that you are part of that history? Because history doesn't ever stop, right? It keeps going. We keep experiencing new things today and right now even. And we are celebrating 150 years as a church community. Someday in the future, when this church celebrates more big birthdays, folks might wonder what stories you could tell about the church. What was the pandemic of 2020 like? What and who did you miss? How did it feel when you got to return to church? We wouldn't be here today at First Unitarian in person or virtually without the efforts of all those folks who showed up on Sundays before us. And now we meet here or on Zoom or YouTube or Facebook because this community holds a place for each of us, no matter our age or our experience, from the past and in our present and into the future. So happy birthday, First Unitarian, and thanks for being here with us this Sunday.
Good morning, First Unitarian. It's amazing to see you all here this morning. For those that I haven't yet had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Leah Davis. I serve as the music director here. And out of an abundance of caution, we are asking our congregation to hum this morning our congregational hymn. So in a moment, I'll have you rise. We do have a fun, I think, rhythmic response also in the song. We're going to be humming Keep On Moving Forward. So when you hear, gonna keep on moving forward, you're going to respond. And you'll get many chances to do that. You can clap it, you can tap your body, you can stamp it or pat your legs, wherever you'd like to put that rhythm in your body. So at this time, I invite you to rise in body or spirit, to hum, keep on moving forward, to do some body percussion, and Alicia and Allie will be leading the vocals on this.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna raise this house with strong hands. Raise this house with strong hands. Raise this house with strong hands. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna sow the seeds of justice. Sow the seeds of justice. Sow the seeds of justice. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back.
Hi, I'm Arnie Carter from the Giving and Action Committee. And I'd like you to welcome Helen Fong from COPA, Colorado People's Alliance. These are good people doing good justice and racial work. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm also a little emotional. Thank you, Arnie, for that lovely introduction. As mentioned, my name is Helen Fung, and I am the fundraising director for Colorado People's Alliance, or COPA. We are a racial justice, member-led grassroots organization dedicated to creating climate, economic, and immigrant justice in our communities for our communities. In our immigrant justice work, we have a long-term goal to ensure everyone is treated equally regardless of their immigration status, because we believe that all immigrants are welcome and essential to our community, and they should be able to prosper here. In 2020, we launched our detention hotline at a very critical time of the pandemic. Since then, we have utilized the hotline to connect with detained community members, to share resources, their stories, and work to bring light to the neglect that is happening in GEO, in Aurora. Since then, we have exposed countless cases of violence, health outbreaks, and continued dehumanization of our community members. But through organizing, we have been successful in demanding the humanitarian release of over 30 community members, requiring health oversight and routine review of GEO's actions. As a community-led organization, members lead every corner of our work, from planning to implementation to evaluation. Our members are primarily people of color and immigrants, and they're very excited to share their stories and lived experiences. Unfortunately, Gabe, our member of our immigrant justice team, was unable to make it today, but he still really wanted me to share his story with all of you. Gabe, like many people sitting in this room or sitting on Zoom or wherever you're joining us, has been a Coloradan for as long as he can remember. Him and his family have endured many things in their lifetimes, including domestic violence, homelessness, cancer, all while worrying about their immigration status. Gabe shared with me the intense fear of not knowing who to turn to, feeling like there's always a target on his back, and knowing that resources are just not available to his family. However, he also shared that COPA has taught him that he's not alone and has inspired him to tell his truth. During his time in COPA, he has learned to be a community leader, he has joined in solidarity with our community, and he has gained the strength to speak his truth in front of his own legislators, which has been incredibly powerful. He told me that his ultimate goal is to give back to his community, our community, and to one day empower others to share their stories too. COPA knows that from our work with community members that Gabe's story is unique in the sense that it's his, but it's very similar to many that call Colorado home. On behalf of Gabe, our membership, and our staff, I want to thank you all for inviting me to join you this morning, knowing that there's so many people in the community who support our work and what we do has made Denver and Colorado a lot less lonely, and I thank you.
So to give to the Colorado People's Alliance, log on to your Breeze account and click on Giving in Action. For the folks that are here, there's a basket in the back, and you can drop your donation in on the way out. Thank you.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Oh, so beautiful. You noticed we did not pass a basket for obvious pandemic reasons. If you would like to make a contribution to our recipient today, there's a basket just outside the door. Also, we're not going to have coffee hour after the service, and I know that's something many of us look forward to every week, is connecting with our friends. However, we are having a picnic at 11:30 at Alamo Placida Park to celebrate our 150th anniversary. So I hope you can come to that. This morning, we send our sympathy and prayers to Ted Auker and Colleen Bryan. Ted's sister Estelle passed away this past week. Ted and Colleen, so sorry for your loss. I hope you can feel the love of this community. I want to acknowledge Haiti this morning, as if Haiti hasn't had enough. Earthquakes and hurricanes, assassinations, and trouble. There was yet another earthquake there in the past 24 hours. Please support ongoing relief efforts for Haiti if you are able. This morning, I want to hold up the fires and drought in the American West and hope that decision makers everywhere around the world are paying attention to this and so many other ecological catastrophes. As we, like our ancestors did, pray for rain and acknowledge that the droughts here in 2021 are not just acts of God, but are exacerbated by human activity, poor planning, ignorance, and greed. We send prayers to the people of Afghanistan today, especially the women of Afghanistan, as the Taliban regain power and control in that long, long suffering country. And lastly, this morning, I want to hold up all the students who are going back to school. right now. And especially, I want to hold up all the teachers and the classroom assistants and the counselors and the administrators whose difficult job is being made even more difficult by being caught in the crossfire of politics and misinformation and COVID-19 and people who don't want our children to learn the harder stories of our own history. I wish strength and clarity and courage to every last one of people involved in the American education system. Our pastoral prayer this morning on the occasion of our anniversary is a poem I'm very fond of. It was written by Kanaz Rafa. It's called We Create Love. Our love is something that just is, but it's also something we create. We build it every day. Sometimes we create love like a person needs dough, heaving our shoulders in the making of nourishment for each other. Sometimes we create love like a child creates art, spontaneously and breathless, standing at the edge between two colors and staring down at the world. Sometimes we create love just by the way people make do, like when I dig up my very last smile and hold it out to you. Sometimes we build love like a bird builds a nest, weaving the hours of a Sunday together to hold us alone in the fragile branches above the noise and all the rest. Sometimes we create love the way aspen reach for the sun, shimmering in the wind as individuals, but rooted underneath the ground as one. Most of the time, being with you is as effortless as riding a bike down a smooth street on a crisp fall day. That is to say, sometimes it's just easy. Sometimes it's not. But even when it gets hard, I know I can count on you to grab the edge of whatever has gotten too heavy for one of us alone and help to lift it. So on the count of 3, hold tight, take a deep breath, and be with me. Amen. Before I get started, I just want to hello. Before I get started, I want to just take a moment and acknowledge and let you know that the young woman who was singing up here a little while ago, Ali Sabah, who spent a great deal of time in this congregation growing up, is going off to college this week to Washington, D.C. So we wish you well, Ali. So when I first heard this, I wasn't sure it was true, but it turns out that it is true. The following is an authentic and official proclamation. Whereas 2021 marks the 150th anniversary of the First Unitarian Society of Denver. Whereas the First Unitarian Society of Denver is one of our city's most enduring churches and institutions devoted to social justice, established in 1871, even before Colorado had secured statehood. Whereas First Unitarian Society of Denver continues to be a growing, inclusive community of courage and caring, where justice is realized and diversity is celebrated. Whereas First Unitarian Society of Denver remains committed to groundbreaking social justice work, women's suffrage, civil rights, racial justice, gay rights, and immigration rights for the next 150 years, now therefore I, Michael B. Hancock, Mayor of the City and County of Denver, Colorado, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby officially proclaim August 21, 2021 to be known as First Unitarian Society of Denver Appreciation Month. How cool is that? I'm not even a real big fan of Michael Hancock, but nonetheless, I'll take his endorsement. It's all good. So on this 150th anniversary, let's take a little bit closer look at how we got here and where we're headed. 1871, Denver was a relatively prosperous frontier town. Rail service to Cheyenne and Kansas City had just begun operating. There was no official Denver Police Department. And the very first Unitarian church in the Colorado Territory was founded. They had their first meeting at a small theater at the corner of 16th Street and Lawrence Avenue. And over the next 20 years, that church went through many changes, met in many different locations, built 2 buildings, and got involved in an astonishing diversity of cutting-edge social justice issues. That church became a beacon of liberal religion in Denver and the region. You are the living church, the living continuation of that church. And our building here is our physical and in many ways our spiritual home. There are dozens of stories in the history of First Unitarian. There are a couple of them pretty central to our identity. 7 years after the church was founded, just 5 years after building the first building, expenses exceeded income by about $1,000. And the trustees, all men, held a meeting and voted, and I quote, this was the motion, to turn the social, religious, and especially financial matters into the hands of the ladies of the church, whose zeal, fidelity, faith, courage, and executive ability had long since been fully proved. Unquote. They then advised the ladies to sell the property, pay the debts, and, quote, consider the efforts to establish a liberal church in Denver a failure, unquote. The ladies, though, thusly charged, chose to ignore that advice, and they set about raising money. and building the church back. They organized tours and outings and concerts and other events that they would charge money for. They would disassemble the stove of Miss Emily Belden and transport it to locations in the mountains and as far away as Colorado Springs and set it up again and cook dinner or meals for Denver residents who wanted to get out of the city for a day. The debt was paid off. The church reopened. In 1887, Unity Church, as it was known at the time, sold the original property, built their second building at 19th and Broadway. That's a parking lot right now if you ever are in that vicinity. In years that followed, the basement of that church at 19th and Broadway housed either the first or one of the very first public kindergartens in the Colorado Territory. There was a sewing room where the ladies of the church, the ever-present ladies of the church, taught vocational skills to young girls of the city so that they could become gainfully employed. In the evening, there were classes for boys who couldn't attend school because they had to work during the day. A group called Associated Charities was established at Unity Church, and that group, believe it or not, became United Way International. It started in our basement. Always ahead of their time, in 1893, the Rocky Mountain News reported that Unity Church was departing from custom by having 6 ushers that were women. Can you imagine? Scandalous in 1893. There were good times and there were bad ones. There were 2 world wars. There was the Depression, and there was the Ku Klux Klan, which pretty much ran the city of Denver in the 1920s. In 1946, a man named Frank Kieser, a longtime pillar of the church, in a pamphlet called Historical Sketches of First Unitarian Church of Denver, wrote, and I quote, "For 3/4, that was the halfway point, right, between then and now, the origin and now. He said, for 3/4 of a century, we have carried on. Sometimes we have staggered, often we have stumbled, but we have never fallen." He neglects to mention the ladies. "When the going was hard and difficult, we have lifted our heads high and with level eyes marched forward, carrying aloft the banner of our faith, the flag of the free and untrammeled church, the ensign of Unitarianism." The congregation moved to this building in 1957. And through the 1950s and 60s was deeply involved in civil rights, desegregation, and the Congress for Racial Equality. Members of this congregation took part in housing testing to uncover redlining in real estate. The Fair Housing Center operated from our offices. We had a well-deserved reputation throughout this time as the place in Denver where groups and individuals that could not find any other public venue willing to hold their meetings would meet here. Lectures or public presentations were welcomed right here in this building. In 1965, members of this church marched across the Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. That was the same year our front doors were vandalized with red paint because we allowed the Free Cuba group to meet here, and the larger community accused us of being communists. Over the years, we have welcomed and made space for dozens of peace and racial justice and gay and lesbian and women's rights groups. The Metropolitan Community Church of the Rockies worshiped in our upstairs chapel for years before they bought their own building over on 9th Avenue. Full-time agencies that have used our space include the Abortion Referral and Counseling Service, the American Youth Hostel, the ACLU, the National Organization for Women, the American Friends Service Committee, the Intensive Community Treatment Center, the Gray Panthers, the Denver Free University, AACA, and NA groups, Creathon's Community Theater, Learning for Living, Common Cause, the Gay Pride Center, the Denver Gay Men's Choir, the Mosaic Choir, the Freedom Fund, and many, many more organizations either began here or began meeting here because our members were involved or because we made space available. We stand on the shoulders of giants. More recent years, we've worked on homelessness and affordable housing, on mental health and marriage equality, immigration justice, accessibility, peace, gun violence, and much more. We were the first congregation in the country to complete the Living the Welcoming congregation curriculum as we sought to be ever more welcoming and inclusive of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people in our community. In 2015, we were founding members of the Metro Denver Sanctuary Coalition, and we received national attention and hate mail from all over the country when we invited and offered sanctuary to Arturo Hernandez Garcia. We were the first Unitarian Universalist church anywhere to offer sanctuary to someone. 2 years later, we again got national attention and hate mail from all over the country when we offered sanctuary to Jeanette Vizguerra. We've given away close to $500,000 to local agencies and causes just in the past 15 years because of our Giving in Action program. This morning was just one example of the many agencies, local efforts we support. We are widely recognized in Denver, nationally among Unitarian Universalists, and the interfaith community as a congregation that puts its money and its faith and its effort to work. When our Black Lives Matter banner was vandalized, 20 local activists from Black Lives Matter 5280, not even members of this congregation, showed up with rakes, garbage bags, and a power washer to clean the property and show us their love and solidarity. I know a lot of other churches, but I gotta say, I don't know any that have been as busy or as influential as ours relative to our size in our region. And all that's just awesome. And I continue to be kind of amazed at my good fortune to be serving as I believe your 19th minister in the history of this congregation. And gotta wonder, what does the next 150 years bring? And the answer is nobody knows. Nobody knows. Who would have thought we'd be here? But it's a good question. What will the next 150 years bring? What will those who come after us think of us who are here today? Will they also be able to say with pride that they stand on the shoulders of giants? What legacy will we leave for them? Will we leave them prepared? So I want to talk about that just a little bit, about some of the movements and things that are happening in the larger world and what experts are saying churches need to do and be thinking about right now as we move into the future in this very strange, confused, troubled world we're in. Here's some of what experts say. If you're a church and you want to thrive in this brave new world, don't even try to be all things to all people. Don't do that. The world is too diverse. Nothing anywhere can be all things to all people. Instead, they say, spend your upfront energy discerning what your community specifically is about, what are its core values, what is its unique setting in this world, what are its particular gifts and ambitions, and focus on those. Much better to do 3 or 4 things really well, really clear in your identity and your vision, than scatter yourself with 20 different projects. Experts say churches need to get really nimble and flexible in how they make decisions. We could probably use a little work on that. They say one of the great weights many congregations still carry is the practice of asking everybody for input on everything before any decision gets made, or just as bad, having some cumbersome governance structure that requires months of meetings and approvals for anyone's idea to actually happen, no matter how good that idea might be. That's a tough one for us, right? We're pretty embedded and wedded to our congregational polity. So I'm not saying we're going to throw that out. I'm just saying we're going to need to be flexible. We're going to need to be nimble a bit. The world is changing too fast, they say, and any organization that can't change in pace with the world around them is going to get left behind, because that's how it works. Experts say every church needs to place a high value and investment in online relationships. I cannot tell you that really makes me happy. I didn't go to seminary to preach to a little light on this camera. I went to seminary to be with you like this. And yes, face-to-face can be more connective and more fulfilling, but experts also say that people will tell you things online they can't muster the courage to tell you face-to-face. And virtual relationships end up getting more time and more energy from younger generations than the in-person variety. Anyway, that trend is just simply a fact, and we have to adapt. Despite that, they say churches should absolutely 100% continue to put lots of focus and energy on building face-to-face relationships. These days, it's safe to assume, well, I've talked about this many times before, it is safe to assume that anyone who comes through our doors, anybody, they have already been on our website, they've listened to podcasts, they've seen our Facebook page, on and on and on. They've already pre-selected us, they've weeded us out of a whole bunch of other stuff, and any time we miss a connection face-to-face with somebody who's visiting us, we have missed an opportunity because they've already pre-selected. Right? They're here for a reason. Experts say that churches that become passionate about reaching and serving people outside their walls will always be far more healthy and effective than churches only interested in holding on to the people already here. That's our whole history, I think, pretty much. I think we're doing pretty good on that score. Here's one we've been working on for years, and we still don't have it exactly right, I'm sorry to say, but we need some work on this. Experts say every church in the future should have easy, obvious, helpful, strategic steps for new people to first become familiar and comfortable with the community, second, make friendships and connections within the community, and third, become welcome and integrated members of a small group or other core ministry of the church. The particular language and the messaging is not as important as that the steps be there, be obvious, be easy, and be specifically designed for newcomers, visitors, guests. Here's something I think is really interesting, and we've talked about this before too. The fastest growing segment of the American population considers themselves deeply spiritual, but they have a profound mistrust of dogma and doctrine, and usually a deep distrust of organized religion itself. Amen? I know dozens of people like this. They hate hypocrisy. Their BS detectors are on high alert all the time. They hunger for community, and they really believe that religion should be a force for bringing diverse people together instead of what they have seen too often in the public arena, which is religion being used to divide and judge people. Amen. All right? This should give us pause. Because First Unitarian has openly aspired to this for generations, right? Since 1871. No one, no church or tradition in this world is a better match for this fast-growing segment of the American population. This moment in time is an amazing opportunity. We have to see this as an opportunity. It is an opportunity, an unprecedented opportunity for Unitarian Universalists. And I personally think that the way we do this, the way we respond to this movement, this reality of our larger culture, is that we do our anti-racism, anti-classism, decolonizing, dismantling white supremacy work. Not just on our posters and in our literature and in our language, but I mean like in our hearts and souls. In how we see each other, and how we live as a community so that people of goodwill, no matter where they come from, no matter what they look like, no matter how much money they have or don't have, no matter if they work at J.P. Morgan or at the car wash over here on Colfax, when they come here, they feel welcomed, affirmed, valued, challenged, and loved. Some very, very recent history. About 7 years ago, in the context of some long-range planning, we, as a community, we realized that if we were going to stay here in this building at 14th and Lafayette, we were going to have to do some major work on it. You might remember there were like stones falling off of the building. There were leaks in the roof and the gutters. It needed some work. So we started having a conversation about whether we should invest in this location or whether we should look at other options, other spaces, other locations. And the overwhelming response from you was that you loved this building. You loved this location. You loved the opportunities for ministry and making a difference that this location provided. That decided, we began planning for a renovation. We hired a financial consultant and we began interviewing architects. The architects told us we needed somewhere between $1 and $6 million, depending on how ambitious we wanted to get. The financial consultant met with our staff and our donors, studied our finances, our patterns of giving, and told us in an 8-page report that if we had a really good project and ran a really good campaign, we could raise between $1 and $1.6 million. And a bunch of us looked at each other and said, thanks very much. We think we can do better than that. We made a target of $2.6 million. We worked with our architect to stay in that limit. We raised that money. We did that renovation. We finished on time. We finished on budget, and we paid for it in full. In full. Because this community knows how to get done. On 150th birthday, I don't know all about what the future holds, but I know this much beyond a shadow of a doubt. Sometimes we have staggered, often we have stumbled, but we have never fallen. When the going was hard and difficult, we lifted our heads high and with level eyes marched forward, carrying aloft the banner of our faith, the flag of the free and untrammeled church, the ensign of Unitarianism. May it be so for another 150 years. Amen.
Would you please rise in body or in spirit and join us in humming our closing affirmation?
A benediction today. I don't know the author. Anonymous author. What is my purpose in life? I asked the void. What if I told you that you fulfilled it when you took an extra hour to talk to that kid about his life? Said the voice. Or when you paid for that young couple in the restaurant. Or when you saved that dog in traffic. Or when you tied your father's shoes for him. Your problem is that you equate purpose with goal-based achievement. God or the universe or morality isn't interested in your achievements, just your heart. When you choose to act out of kindness, compassion, and love, you are already aligned with your true purpose. You need look no further. Amen.
My own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care if they call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. We may be right, we may be wrong, but I wanna bring you along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see. Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.